Please welcome Kellyanne Conway, President and CEO of the Polling Company.
Thank you very much. At last year's Solutions Day, I was actually pregnant with my third child, which means that my family's carbon footprint is now bigger than Al Gore. You know what's amazing? In my 20 years in survey research, it always surprises me how often the American people themselves are the ones who come up with new issues and ideas through focus groups and through polling. And 5 years ago, the topic of energy was not even in most nationwide polls, asking Americans to cite the most pressing problem. But 5 years ago, the nationwide average for the cost of a gallon of gasoline was $1.50. So you fast forward 5 years and you find that energy concerns really share the spotlight with some of those perennially important issues. Earlier this year, when gas reached $3 a gallon, Americans reacted. When it crept up to $4 a gallon, Americans practically revolted. This is a 144% increase in just 5 years. It's impacted family budgets, to be sure. But even worse, it's imperiled our national security by making us over-rely on foreign oil from some hostile nations. Yet some leaders in Washington still don't get it. They oppose bringing relief to Americans and energy independence to all of us by tapping into the billions of gallons of oil suspected to be under our own soil and oceans. Apparently to some, it's more important to make sure a moose has a happy habitat than to protect the American family. But who says we have to choose between the two anyway? As many have noted, the amount of land that we would be using for drilling in Anwar is really the size of a postage stamp on a football field. The technology exists to safely and cleanly extract oil with minimal disruption to wildlife in this relatively small parcel of Alaskan tundra. But one thing this poll that we conducted with Doug Schoen makes clear is that Americans really get the joke. They're tired of the posturing by politicians on the matter of energy. Earlier this year, on the eve of the launch of American Solutions' historic and game-changing Drill Here, Drill Now, Pay Less campaign, we conducted nationwide polling that revealed Americans of all political and ideological stripes recognize that while climate change is an important concern, it is inferior to a greater demand for energy security. I mean, some of the chattering classes portray anyone who does not agree with their view about global warming as careless, heartless energy hogs. People make it seem like it's an either-or proposition. Either you love the environment and you reject domestic drilling, or you are for domestic drilling and you don't really care what happens to the environment long term. This is a false choice. This is an artificial black and white, red versus blue dichotomy that simply does not exist when you look at the polling opinion data. And let's take a look at it. Americans in this survey stood united for a smart, practical energy policy that would allow them to drive to work, power their homes without busting their bank accounts. 65% of Americans we surveyed said that they were concerned about climate change or global warming when asked about that question in a vacuum. And there was a real partisan divide there. 45% of Republicans, 70% of independents, and 78% of Democrats said that. But something the three parties were in complete consensus on was that energy security, that is, quote, ensuring that America always has enough affordable energy to fulfill its needs and is not too dependent on any one energy source, was a more pressing issue for America than climate change. By a margin of 63% to 27%, Americans agreed that energy independence should be the more immediate priority than global warming or climate change. And in a separate question, Americans sent an unmistakable message to Washington and to their elected officials. 71% said that their elected leaders should focus on increasing the energy supplies of the United States, on lowering the cost of gasoline and electricity, as compared to the 18% who said they would prefer that Congress now focus on combating global warming, even if it means higher gasoline and electricity prices. That also gained majority support across the ideological and political spectrum. The mandate moving forward is clear. By an eye-popping margin of more than 4-1, 81% of Americans support the U.S. tapping its, quote, own domestic energy reserves, including the oil and coal it already has here in the United States, in order to combat the rising cost of energy and reduce dependence on foreign energy sources. Americans also strongly favor, in this poll and other polls, alternatives to traditional energy sources. There is support for clean coal, wind, solar, and nuclear alternatives. Ladies and gentlemen, America has spoken here, not just in their answer to surveys, but in the 1.5 million who have signed the American Solutions Drill Here, Drill Now, Pay Less petition. Energy security and combating climate change are not mutually exclusive propositions. Nonetheless, our energy security is often a pawn on Capitol Hill. They move from photo op to photo op in their big gas guzzlers, preening about greening America, while all we really want to do is lower energy prices to drive ourselves to work and take the kids to school. Small business owners literally can't wait for Congress to act, to be able to, or to get back from a recess to keep the vans humming by which they transport their goods and their customers. Young parents can't put 3 car seats on the back of a Prius moped. To most Americans, caring about the environment and securing our energy reserves, being independent in our energy policy, is not about winning a Nobel Peace Prize or even an Academy Award. And indeed, it's not flying in a humongous private jet to collect those prizes. Energy independence is not just a cool idea. It's a moral imperative to help families and businesses and to reduce our dependence on oil-rich dictators in the name of economic and national security. You literally have the power. Now turn it on. Thank you.